Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jenny Minnie. Today's video is going to be a updated recovery Q&A, and it's one that I've been meaning to record for a very long time. I've just been really busy with schoolwork and finals and everything, and now that it's holiday break, I finally have the time. Back in the summer, I think July or something, I posted my first anorexia recovery Q&A video. Honestly, I felt really vulnerable posting that, but the positive feedback and support I received from that video was just overwhelming. So thank you so much, and thank you for DMing me on Instagram about it, telling me how much it helped you and helped you to know that you're not struggling alone, because we're never struggling alone. There's always someone out there who is dealing with the same thing. Hopefully this video can also help you feel that way as well. I've been meaning to just do an update because many things in my recovery have changed in the past 6 months, even less. I feel like every single day there's a new challenge, but there's also new moments that just aren't challenging anymore, which is so great. And I feel like that's what recovery is all about, is just facing those challenges, but also it's about experiencing the moments of food freedom and feeling yourself grow out of the old person you were that was maybe controlled or overtaken by eating disorder thoughts or a certain eating disorder. I have a hot cup of tea here. I have lemon green tea with a little spoonful of honey. If you don't have a drink, a snack, grab something, stay here with me, and let's chat and get to all of your questions. Thank you for submitting the questions and for being here along my journey. Let's get right into it. Also, side note, I'm back in Doncaster with my mom for Christmas, so early in her little house. There are so many questions, I don't even know where to start. Let's start with this one. How did you get through recovery, and did you have someone to support you? So I would say I'm still in the process of recovery. I definitely do need some help on certain days and in certain moments, but I am much further along in recovery than I was when I started, or even just a year ago. I definitely know myself a lot better. I trust my body so much more, and I'm able to kind of get myself through harder moments, whereas before I would have needed to ask for help. But now I know that I'm stronger than that, and I'm not defined by those unhelpful negative thoughts. So yeah, I would say I'm not through recovery yet, but I'm very close, and I definitely have moments of feeling very much fully recovered. But then coming here, for example, coming back to family, coming home for the holidays, that brought up a lot of past emotions and past thoughts, and it's just made it a little bit more difficult to kind of continue on that road of recovery and feeling really positive and great about my food choices. It's just made it a little bit more difficult, but because of where I'm at in recovery and because of the support I've had along the way, it's definitely a lot more manageable than it was, say, last holiday break. But I would say, how did I get through? Honestly, talking to people. That has been just a huge help for me. I think in the beginning of my eating disorder, I didn't tell anyone that I was struggling, and I didn't tell anyone what I was doing and the tracking and the sneaky things I was doing, and just bringing it out all into the open, the good parts, the messy parts, has just helped me so much. And I feel so grateful to have been surrounded by a supportive family and have a supportive boyfriend throughout my recovery. I know not everyone is in that situation, so I'm so beyond grateful to have had that. And I'd say honestly that's how I've gotten through, is just talking to them, telling people, telling the ones I trust and love when I'm struggling, so that I'm not alone when I'm in a more hard place. So to answer that question, I did. I had my mom and my brother were both very supportive through my recovery. I felt I could go to them with anything, as well as my boyfriend. So I'm just filled with so much gratitude for all of them always, and yeah, they definitely helped me get through. But I think if you don't have that support, you can recover too, and it's not something you need to have. A lot of it is internal work, and I mean, a lot of recovery is just working on yourself and your relationship with yourself. So how did I get through that part? I would say just challenging myself every single day, any moment I could, any moment it felt possible, even in the moments it didn't feel possible, just challenging myself and challenging those food rules and those eating disorder thoughts every single day until I had challenged them enough that I either didn't even have the thought anymore, or when that thought did come up, it didn't bother me or sway me to make a different decision. Just pushing back against that voice, opposite action, a lot of like self-exposure therapy, like trying food fears and putting myself in uncomfortable situations. That's how I've gone through recovery and been able to get to the point where I'm at now. Take a sip of tea. I like this one. What are some signs that you are recovering, mental/physical? How do you tell that you're on the right track? I think it's just once, I don't know, I was gonna say once life becomes easier, but your eating disorder can very easily trick you into thinking life is easy and good and amazing when it's controlling you. So that's a really tricky one to answer in that way, but I would just say things do become simpler, I guess. Decisions about what food to eat. Now they aren't so crowded with so many different voices telling me what I should, what I shouldn't eat. It's just like, okay, that's the food I want, that's what I'm gonna eat. And so in that sense, life becomes easier and simpler. I think that's one way to tell that you're on the right track, is just if those voices that used to overcrowd your decisions or get in the way of being able to trust your body and trust your instincts, if those voices are like quieting, or even if they're still there but they're just not influencing you the same way they used to, that's definitely a sign you're on the right track. And I think physically, I just feel more balanced. I'm not waking up with extreme like emptiness in my stomach pit feeling like of hunger, or vice versa. I'm not feeling like overstuffed and overfull when I eat like a normal sized meal. It's just like everything feels more balanced. I'm able to tell when I'm hungry, how hungry I am, what I'm hungry for, and then on the other side I'm able to tell when I'm full, or when maybe I'm full but I want to keep eating a little bit more. I just feel like I'm able to be more in tune with how my body is reacting, and I'm able to respond better. It's just overall in a more balanced place. And for me, that came with weight gain. I needed to gain weight in order to get to that balanced place. So if that's a necessity for you as well, that's a sign you're on the right track with recovery. If you're gaining weight, if you're feeling more balanced, and it may come with a lot of difficulties of accepting that weight gain. For me, it was very, very difficult to accept, and still is some days now. But finding that balance in my body makes the weight so worth it. You know, I would never ever even think to go back and want to go back. My eating disorder might try to tell me I want to go back, but I don't. And then I think mentally, if you are able to just think about other things. With me, I just couldn't think about anything else except food. Like literally all my thoughts were food. What I was going to eat, what I had ate, what I was going to eat the next week, how many calories were in something, like all of my thoughts were that. And one big sign that I'm recovering is that I have so much more mental clarity and mental space to think about other things. I can think about a hobby I want to do. I can think about the test I'm doing. Even in exams and in school, my brain was just always on food. Like, what am I going to eat after this? So I think one big telltale sign that you're recovering from your eating disorder is just having the space in your mind and your brain to think about other things and do other things outside of food and your body. That's been an amazing feeling, is just being able to be 100% present somewhere in the moment, not thinking about what I'm going to be doing or what I'm going to be eating or what I had been doing or what I had been eating. It's just being like right here in the moment. That is a big sign, and I do that all the time. I'm able to just eat the food I need, and in between eating I think about other things. I don't think about food until I'm hungry again, and then I eat. So, which is kind of the way life should be. This is a good one too. Tips for recovery around drinking culture in college. This has been one I have struggled with a lot, honestly, this past year, the past couple years. My relationship with alcohol has been a roller coaster for sure. There have been moments I used it for confidence. I used it to feel good about myself. I used it to flirt with guys. I used it just to kind of have that buffer of, I guess, confidence, like I said, in myself that I just didn't have sober. And then as my eating disorder developed even further, it became a really scary thing to me because I felt like I would lose control and, you know, wouldn't have any control around food when I was drunk. When you're under the influence of alcohol, you don't have as clear of judgment, I guess. I don't really know. But the point is that I didn't need to control myself around food. My eating disorder was telling me I needed to, so then I felt like this uber lack of control because I had a lack of judgment due to the alcohol. And I never suffered with binge eating disorder, but there were definitely some nights that I came home and ate quite a lot because maybe I had restricted during the day or just hadn't been allowing myself those foods, and now suddenly I have alcohol in my system. I just, you know, I hope that makes sense. So then those became really emotional, and I would really just hate myself after those moments. And the next morning I would just feel so guilty about whether I ate a lot the night because of alcohol, or maybe it caused me to restrict even more because of the alcohol. It just put things into more of an extreme place than they already were. And then I've recently been going through more of a phase of just not drinking alcohol at all. I think now that I've worked on my relationship with food, I'm kind of working on my relationship with alcohol. I'd say it doesn't affect my relationship with food the way it used to, but it just affects my general anxiety and depression, honestly. I just hate the feeling of hangovers. The next morning I feel so anxious, and I don't know, it's just been a really tricky thing. The best advice I can give is just to listen to yourself. Don't be swayed by friends. Don't give in to peer pressure. If you don't want to drink alcohol, you should not drink alcohol. If it is not sitting well with you to be under the influence and drink and go out and go to bars and go to clubs, whatever, don't do it. I've been in situations where I've just said yes because I felt bad saying no, and those are the most uncomfortable moments. I end up loathing the night and regretting the night because I just wasn't listening to myself and I wasn't aligning with my values. I was just saying yes because I felt bad for canceling, or you know, for being a party pooper or something like that. But I think my best advice is just to listen to yourself. If you don't want to drink, you don't have to drink. If you don't want to go out, you don't have to go out. There will be other people in this world who don't want to go out with you if you don't want to go out, and you can have a chill night in, bake some cookies, watch a movie. I mean, hit me up because I'm now that person. I don't really enjoy going out. I'd much rather have a chill night in, maybe drink like 1 glass of wine and have a good conversation. I think past me, I was all about going out. I was drinking all the time, multiple nights a week, going out dancing. I was doing the whole thing, and I don't regret that time of my life at all. I don't wish it hadn't happened, but it definitely was a lower point in my life that I don't want to go back to. I'm grateful it happened. I'm grateful I've grown from it, but I'm now realized that alcohol doesn't really serve me in that way. I have plenty of fun being sober. I'm able to just be more in tune with myself and listen to my body, which is my overall goal right now in recovery, is just to understand my needs and understand what my body needs and respond. And I feel like alcohol often gets in the way of doing that. But don't get me wrong, I do love a good glass of Chardonnay and a tequila shot here and there, but recently just been working on saying no when things don't align to me. That's my best advice for you. Next question is, did I ever struggle with bulimia? If so, any tips? I wouldn't say I had bulimia, but I've definitely had bulimic tendencies and desires, I guess. Certain moments in my eating disorder I did try to purge, and it only actually like happened a few times in my life, and those moments were just so uncomfortable and emotional, and I just left feeling so stunned with myself that I could get my body to a place where I could do that. It didn't last long, and it was really uncomfortable. So I wouldn't say I struggled with bulimia, but I definitely had a few moments and have had multiple attempts. So for tips for that, honestly, whenever I started to feel the urge to like purge and get rid of my food, I would just have to be really strict with myself and just say like, nope, you never feel good doing that. It's a complete violation of what my body needs. It's completely doing the opposite of what my body naturally does. So if I'm on a journey to try to realign with my body and listen to it, how can I be doing something so invasive and intensely the opposite? And I think I just need to bring myself back down to the present moment, tell myself that my body can handle whatever food is in my system. Even if it's uncomfortable to me right now, it's better that it's in than out. Literally verbally out loud, I'm like, no, Jenny, like, don't do that. That's much easier said than done, I know. But that's my only really tips with it. But like I said, I didn't really struggle with it to a more severe extent, just like little moments here and there. This is a good question. How did you deal with feeling not sick enough, if you felt it, and how you managed your recovery? I definitely felt quote unquote not sick enough for a very, very long time, and still sometimes even have those thoughts of just like, did I hit like the bottom of rock bottom? Like, could I have gotten worse? All these not helpful thoughts. I think because I never actually went to treatment, although I was very highly recommended to go, I decided not to go. I didn't want to stop school. I didn't want it to interrupt my life like that. And this is by no means saying that if you go to treatment, it's bad that it's interrupting your life. This was just my personal choice. I was in college and I just really didn't want it to interrupt my life the way I knew it was going to. And so I used that as my motivation to recover. But I still had a lot of thoughts of, do I deserve to recover? Am I even that bad? Because I never actually went to treatment when there were other people who actually went and recovered that way. But I think just reminding myself that I wasn't in a happy place. It doesn't matter whether another person was healthier than me, happier than me, worse than me, more unhealthy than me. Like, I just needed to not compare, because I knew that the place I was at when I was in the depths of my eating disorder was not a sustainable or a maintainable place for me. So just reminding myself that I don't need to be quote unquote sick enough to recover. I was at an unhappy place, so I deserve to get to a happy place regardless of anyone else's experience or where they are in life. Do you ever feel embarrassed asking for help in recovery? Yes, I definitely do. I think now that I'm kind of more recovered, I'm further along in my recovery, I can deal with a lot of moments by myself and I don't need help, which is great. But in those moments I do need help, I almost feel like kind of shameful and embarrassed to ask sometimes, because sometimes what I'm asking for sounds ridiculous, especially to someone that has never struggled with an eating disorder. But I only really ask for help from people I know and love, and I know that they love and support me, but I definitely still catch myself judging myself around the things I ask for help about. You're not alone in feeling embarrassed. It shouldn't stop you from asking for help. I think sitting with that discomfort, sitting with that embarrassment, and just acknowledging that you need help is the best thing you can do for yourself, and honestly the best thing you can do for the other people around you. Because if you're just silently struggling, maybe you're just in a pissed off mood and you're really irritable, and the people around you don't know why or don't know what's going on, that's more annoying and frustrating for them, because if they love you and want to help you, they're not going to want to see you struggling like that, and they're going to want to help you. So the only way they know how to help you is if you voice what you need and how they can help you. That's what I found, is just kind of pushing through the discomfort and any feelings of embarrassment and just asking anyway for help, or even just saying out loud like, hey, I'm having a hard time right now, and then you can talk about it from there. But if they don't know you're having a hard time and they don't know anything, then it's probably just going to end up in a more frustrating situation, at least from my experience. Hello, we're in my mom's kitchen because I somehow deleted the last bit of footage, but I'm gonna pull up the questions that I answered in the last clip and I'm just gonna answer them here. Okay, this question says, how do you feel when others make you food? For example, dinner parties or situations you have no control over the food. So these were honestly some of the most difficult situations at the beginning of my recovery and throughout my eating disorder, and still sometimes are lingering and difficult. Like I mentioned earlier in the video, coming here, being with family, getting out of my normal routine with food and just my lifestyle, my anxiety has definitely been way higher. And like, for example, my eating disorder has been very, very loud today, and I've just been trying to figure out why, and it really told me to not join in with people, not eat what they were eating. We went out to eat for lunch and it was just like, don't order anything, make something at home where you'll know what's in the food and you'll make it yourself. But that's just not helpful, and I really felt myself like getting pulled out of the moment and out of the presence of my family. Like, my grandma was there, my aunt was there, my cousin, like everyone was there, and I just wanted to be present, but this annoying eating disorder voice was just so loud in my head. But I pushed back against it. I ordered something, and I ordered what sounded good to me in the moment. Yes, I had so many thoughts telling me, don't eat it, you don't know what's in it, and I sat down and ate lunch with my family at this coffee shop that I really wanted to go to in the first place. We literally went because of me, and then when I got there I started freaking out. But we pushed through, and I didn't let the eating disorder win. My advice for that would just be to just expose yourself to those types of situations and deal with the discomfort that comes with it. Face the challenge head on, because those fears and the discomfort around not knowing certain ingredients or not knowing how something's made and what it's made with, like, that fear won't go away until you like actually face it head on and put yourself in situations and eat food that you don't know the ingredients and that you haven't made yourself. myself. I know it can feel very, very overwhelming and scary to think about being in a situation where you'd have to deal with eating a food that you don't know the ingredients of, but that fear isn't going to go away until you like actually do it and eat the food and consume it and deal with the uncomfortability that comes, because the more you do it, the more you'll realize that there really isn't anything to fear, and not knowing the ingredients in every food you eat is normal and okay, and you don't need to know all the ingredients because there is so much joy in being cooked for. And I just hated that I used to be at a place where I wouldn't enjoy that at all. Like, say my boyfriend wanted to cook me dinner, I was just so on edge and stressed. I needed to know what he was doing, what he was putting in it, and he just wanted to do something nice for me, and I really felt like I was spoiling it every single time. And so that's something I'm working on now, is just kind of letting go and letting people around me either make the decision, or if we decide to go out somewhere, just telling myself, okay, this is what we're doing and I'm gonna find something on the menu that works for me, and it's okay if I don't know exactly all the ingredients. And I think it's okay to like ask waiters and waitresses what's in something, as long as it's not coming from a restrictive place and kind of a compulsive need to know what's in every single dish and what's in every single meal. But yeah, my biggest advice is to just do it. Find people you're comfortable with and that support you, and have them do it with you. Maybe go to a specific restaurant that scares you, or try a different type of food, or have them pick your food maybe, so you really have no control, and just expose yourself to those fears. This is another really good one. How do you deal with things not going your way when you're out to eat? I'm kind of gonna answer this in just like in general. How do I deal with food situations not going my way, whether I'm at home or whether I'm out to eat? Because that's something I've really tackled head on recently, and just throughout my recovery also. I am a perfectionist. I like things to be a certain way. If I envision them a certain way, it's really hard for me to like accept that they could go another way. And some people are way better at that. I am not one of them, but it's something I'm working on. For moments where food either doesn't taste the way I wanted it to, maybe doesn't look the way I wanted it to, maybe they made a mistake and like added an ingredient that I don't like or something like that, I just remind myself that food shouldn't be held up on such a high pedestal that it's defining my mood of a situation. Like the food at a restaurant you're eating, like yes, it's important because that's the point of going to the restaurant. You're ordering food to eat and fuel your body with. But if it's not exactly what I envisioned, like that's okay. The point is going to the restaurant, eating food, and probably being with whoever you're with, talking to them, being present with them. In situations where maybe my food arrives and it doesn't taste the way I want it to, if I can easily like remove the ingredient that I don't want or genuinely don't like, I will do that. And just knowing that it's okay for meals to not be perfect. They're not here to be this super aesthetic part of life. At the end of the day, it's just fuel. It's just sustenance for your body, and it gives you energy to do things in life. So I think removing food from that high pedestal just enables me to kind of have a much more like balanced view of food wherever I am, whether I'm out to eat or at home. And don't get me wrong, like I love making my food look so nice and making it exactly how I like when I have the chance. But as much as I value that, I'm realizing I want to find value in spontaneous food moments, unplanned food moments. Maybe what we tried to bake just like doesn't work, and it's something to laugh about. But I know how difficult that can be, because still sometimes I catch myself getting so stressed over something not going my way. Just removing it from that pedestal and trying to view food as more balanced, and just not as this like high up thing that needs to be perfect every single time, because it really doesn't need to be. One of the other questions was, did I see a nutritionist or go to a therapist? And the answer is yes, I went to both. I actually started with a nutritionist. I started with her kind of before I actually started recovery, I would say, because I noticed my relationship with food was getting really unhealthy and I was losing a lot of weight. And she's the one who actually diagnosed me with anorexia, and I worked with her for a few months, and sadly things kind of got worse from there, like mentally, and she was great in helping me reframe my views on food and what calories are and what certain elements of nutrition are, but it didn't really help me kind of actually eat enough, and I think I just was so consumed by anorexia and by my eating disorder that I needed an additional help, which was later a therapist. And throughout this, I had the support of my family and my boyfriend, so I'm so grateful for that. But having this support team with the nutritionist and the therapist and my family at the beginning of recovery really helped me. Another question here mentioned, how do you recover when therapy isn't available at the moment? I guess I can't speak from personal experience because I did have a therapist. Starting recovery without one is still very possible, but it's just going to look differently than mine did, for example. I would say how to start recovery without a therapist is to just look inward. Really ask yourself the hard questions of, what are you fearful of? Why do you view foods this certain way? Just start being curious and stop judging yourself. I noticed that I was just judging myself a lot of the time over either the foods I wanted to eat or foods I was fearful of. My inner voice was just judging me, and that kind of fueled my eating disorder and fueled the self-hatred kind of. So once I started looking at it with more curiosity rather than judgment, that really helped me just have a lot more clarity around why I was fearful. And maybe the answer was, I don't know why I'm fearful, but because I stopped judging myself, I could really think about it and realize oh, I don't need to be so fearful of this food. Let's go try it and try to conquer this fear so that it's not such an inconvenience to my life and I get so stressed every time it pops up in my life. That's one big thing I would suggest, is just to question yourself, ask yourself the tough questions. If you have other people that aren't a therapist that in your life that you trust and love, talk to them about your struggles, ask them questions. If they haven't struggled with an eating disorder, ask them how they view food. That's been one of the biggest things for me too, is my brother hasn't struggled with food or anything, and so I literally just ask him what's your thought process while you were eating that food? How did you notice you were full? How did you feel your hunger? What did that look like to you? And obviously we're two different people, so I can't fully compare how I should feel hungry to how he feels hungry, but because he's not swayed by the bias of an eating disorder, it's just a lot more simpler for him. And I think just talking to someone who doesn't struggle with this type of stuff is so eye-opening, because his brain just isn't clouded by these diet culture thoughts, eating disorder thoughts, and mine is. So I don't know what life is like to not have those thoughts around food. And so just talking to him kind of helps me reframe and think about my thoughts around food. And I'm just here's someone who doesn't even think that way. Why do I think this way? Why am I judging this certain food? Or why am I fearful of this food when someone I love and respect and trust doesn't fear it at all? Maybe it's not so bad. If you can't find a person to go to, find a journal or some way of writing down, getting your thoughts just outside of your head, because I feel even just looking at something you wrote is a form of reflection, similarly to talking to someone, and their response is kind of a reflection almost. So that would be my advice on that. But to answer the first part, yes, I saw both the nutrition and the therapist. Both were extremely helpful. They both helped me in different ways. Before we move on to the next question, I would so appreciate if you all just took a second to click the like button, click the subscribe button below if you are finding this video helpful and want more like this. Type in the comments below if you have other certain questions or other type of recovery videos, maybe a certain topic that I've mentioned in this video that you want me to go more in depth. I would just love to hear all your feedback. Thank you all for being here who's watching. If you've made it this far, comment down a heart emoji, because we're all about spreading love and positivity here. But moving on to the next question. Also, side note, I answered this question in my most recent podcast episode. I answered more questions different from this video, but this last question I'm gonna answer in both. And the question is, what is my why for recovery? My why is me. Your why can be anything. For me, it started out as wanting to be a better girlfriend, be a better daughter, be a better sister, just kind of be the whole person I know I can be around my family and be present around my family and my friends and my boyfriend. I just felt so disconnected from the present moment when I was really struggling with my eating disorder and with anorexia, that I just wanted to recover, just to feel myself again and just to bring back the girl I knew was deep down in me. So it started out as wanting to do that for the people in my life that I love, but it quickly turned into just doing it for me. And I think that is at its core my why for recovery, is just to be the best version of myself possible, put forth the best version of myself, put forth the most authentic version of myself. I don't want to want to put forth a girl with anorexia who has no self-confidence, looks sickly underweight, and can't be around food without freaking out. Like, I didn't want to be that girl for the rest of my life, so I knew that recovery was going to be the only way for me to stop being that girl and start discovering and finding who Jenny really is. And I'm currently still on that journey, and I anticipate I'll be on this journey probably for the rest of my life. But I'd say these first few years are probably going to be the harder parts. Who knows? Now, almost 2 years into recovery, it's amazing to feel those fears and those stresses just starting to lift, because at the end of the day, I've only got myself, this body, and my mind for the rest of my life. So I might as well try to cherish and work on the relationship with myself, because I truly believe that's the most important relationship anyone has in their life, is their relationship with themselves. So that is my why. As I mentioned before, I'm always grateful for every one of you here watching. Thank you for being here, and I will catch you in the next video.